In a day and age where college football doesn't have an off switch and coaches don't have an off day, you're watching as more people start to lean toward the pro model rather than the collegiate one. Last week, it was reported that Jeff Hafley was leaving Boston College as its head coach to become the next defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. And now it's been reported that Kentucky's offensive coordinator, Liam Coen, is departing Lexington to become the next OC for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here's the difference, people. There is a giant difference between these two and their thought processes of how we've got to this situation. So why don't we go ahead and discuss? But if you are new here, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on Liam Coen's departure in Lexington. How does this affect the Wildcats? Is this a good move for Coen? Is there going to be positivity for Kentucky moving forward? Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, college football aficionados, Kentucky faithful, and SEC fans everywhere about this channel, because we're on the race. And we're soon going to get there to become the #1 YouTube show talking college football daily. Continue to follow me on social media, Twitter, X, Instagram, any platform out there. Slide in the DMs at Mr. Cole Thompson. But that way, conversations surrounding our favorite sport never have to stop flowing. So, Liam Coen leaves Kentucky after returning to Kentucky to go back to the NFL where he just was. Already, you can understand where my thought process is when it comes to this type of dialect. When you look back at the history of Liam Coen, yeah, he was a collegiate guy. You know, he spent time at Maine. He was the pass game coordinator for Rhode Island a little bit. He was the quarterback coach for Brown. He's had some stops, but it felt like he was meant for the NFL. Just the dialect he spoke, the style of offense he wants to run, the concepts, the personnel packages, that fits on Sundays more so than on Saturdays. And you look back, it makes sense that he wants to go pro. This is completely different than Hafley. Hafley has come out and said, according to reports with ESPN's Pete Thamel, he wants to leave college football because of the state it's in. He is not a fan of having to recruit players, having to work the transfer portal, having to retain as many players from leaving the transfer portal by working with the NIL collectives. And also, there is no time off. Ever. There is literally no time off for a college football coach. Every single day, you are doing something for your program to better it. And a lot of times, you feel micromanaged, or even worse, you feel disrespected. So you're starting to see as more people are turning off of that spectrum. But I don't think Coen is one of those cases. It's a lot like Todd Monken. Anybody remember him now calling shots with the Baltimore Ravens? So Monken actually was the head coach at Southern Miss for a few years. Then he goes and becomes the offense coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, similar to Coen. And then he becomes the offense coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. And then he goes back to college after having stops at Notre Dame in the 90s, Eastern Michigan, Louisiana Tech. I think he was at Oklahoma State and LSU for a little bit. That's more so what you feel like with Coen. NFL guy who has collegiate experience. And then you look at a guy like Harbaugh, who, in my opinion, is completely different than both, wants to be a proven winner at every level, just simply hoping to become the greatest college football or greatest coach we have seen in this modern era. That's his MO. It's a lot different. When we are looking at the future of college football and how these conversations unfold, you have to look at guys who aren't really retained to NFL circles. They aren't names that you hear a lot in those conversations. Chip Kelly is a perfect example of this. Kelly had experience in the NFL. And if he got his shot to become a head coach, I could see it. I can understand why he wants to go back to that model, especially now looking at the Big Ten, where UCLA is in terms of NIL, where they come in recruiting rankings, where they come in transfer portal rankings, and the level of competition they're going up against. But he is a guy who is more so known for his time in college. He was dominant at Oregon. He's had some good years at UCLA. To become an offensive coordinator, it feels a little bit like a step down. That's someone you worry about when they talk about college football and the pathway it's going into. A guy like Liam Coen, I like him. I think that he was going to do wonders for the Wildcats offense this year. I actually was a lot higher on Kentucky than most. I believe that they would be a dark horse in the SEC. I really love their additions they added in via the portal. Whether you look at young names like Raymond Cottrell, whether you look at guys like Jamori Macklin coming on over, Chip Trainum, you bring in Brock Vandagriff, there were moves made offensively to where you could think, maybe this is another year where Kentucky goes 10-3. Maybe this is another year where Kentucky gets to bowl eligibility and top 25 finishes, top 20 finishes in offensive production. I had those thought processes, but it's not one of those times where you look at Liam Coen leaving Lexington for an NFL job and you go, College football's in dismay right now. We're in a lot of trouble. No, that's not one of those situations in the slightest. So don't get it mixed up. When a coach like Hafley says it, when a coach like Kelly says it, when they're adamant talking about the future of college football, knowing that they are head coaches at prime schools that still are on the outside looking in whenever it comes to college football conversations, but still alive enough in the hunt to make it to at least a conference championship, that's where the concern comes. So it's best just to remember, separate the two. Coen going to the NFL, he seemed like a guy that wanted to go back there. It seemed like at the time, Mark Stoops was hell-bent on getting him back after the Rick Scriglio era simply because they didn't want to have any more regression. Last season, the offense was fine. Devin Leary, you expected more from. It ended up being a souring defeat, but you did have a good rushing attack with Ray Davis. But again, this is a guy that runs a lot of offensive concepts. He was on staff for all those epic years where you had Jared Goff. He's been able to get quality play out of quarterbacks. You have a quarterback down in Tampa that is about ready to get paid an egregious amount of money. It makes sense you want to go get somebody who fits the offense. And they've also already said, when Baker Mayfield was asked in Orlando this past week about the hiring, he mentioned that was a name that caught my attention. So he's already gotten his name in circles among NFL pundits. It's not the same when it comes to a Hafley. It may not be the exact same when it comes to a Chip Kelly. Kelly has experience in the NFL. We can say whatever that experience was, good, bad, indifferent. But make no mistake, Hafley and Coen are two drastic ends of the spectrum when it comes to college football. Your brain does not lead you down to the trajectory of college football is at dismay when you listen to Cohen's thought process. In his sense, it's more so, I want to go back to the NFL. I was really good as a coordinator there. This is an opportunity for me to bolster my stats. Maybe I'll come back to college. Maybe I'll be a head coach in 2 years. Who the hell knows? But that's a guy that feels more set on NFL conversations than college football ones. Where Hafley, it kind of came as a little bit of a shock. You're leaving a Power 4 job. And yes, it is Power 4. I get it. You're leaving a Power 4 head coaching job to become a coordinator. Why? Because I don't like the situation college football's in. Now that leads you down the pecking order of, okay, well, what's wrong with college football? Coen, best of luck to you. I hope all is well. Kentucky's in a little bit of trouble right now. I don't know what direction they want to go. I would be very shocked to see them not go after maybe a player, former SEC player like T. Martin. His name has been linked to the job. So maybe that's the pathway you go down. Who's to say? But Coen, don't compare it to Hafley. That's all I will mention on this one. If your thought is college football is at dismay because Liam Coen is leaving, you just want chaos and mayhem. That's all you're looking for. Hafley gives you that reason to be optimistically cautious. Coen's more so just like a best of luck in all your future endeavors. Hopefully the door doesn't kick you on the way out. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.